joke. So, do you want to hear it?
Yes.
So I was in Hawaii several years ago, and I didn't know if it was Hawaii or Hawaii. So I went on the beach, and lying there on the sand was this elderly man. He must have been about 125,000 years old. You know, he had this prune type of skin and everything. And I said, "Excuse me, sir." And he said, "Yes, my son." I said, "You look like you have the wisdom of the islands in your eyes and in your body. Could you answer a question for me?" And he said, "Yes, certainly." I said, "Is it Hawaii or Hawaii?" So he looked up into the sky, and I could again see the wisdom in his eyes. And he says, "My son, it is Hawaii." I said, "Thank you." He said, "You're welcome." So that's the bad joke of the day. Let's have a hand for the bad joke.
It was bad.
All right, who out here likes contests? Anybody out here like a contest to win prizes? I need 2 volunteers. 2 volunteers. 2 male volunteers. This gentleman coming up and that gentleman. All right, let's have a hand for our volunteers here. All right. Oh, this is going to be a tough contest. Guaranteed. Let's have a hand once again. All right, sir. Your name? It doesn't matter what your name is. I got him. Your name? Anthony. You have a last name?
Perella.
All right, Andy Perella, come stand on this side of me over here. All right, let me move this out of here. And your name?
Dominic.
Your last name, Dominic?
Perella.
Oh, the Perella brothers. Let's hear it for the tag team of the... All right. So now I need a timekeeper. Who has a stopwatch or a cell phone with a timing gimmick on it? This is very important. Are you a Perella as well? Are you a Perella fella? Come on up. Come on up. We need you right in the front here. Okay? Come on. Okay. I need one of the Perellas to hold this while I get my gimmick. You can talk.
Go ahead.
Check. 1, 2.
Cut a heel promo.
Finally!
Yeah, here we go.
I've come back to...
All right. He did really well. That's it. I'm done. Okay. Does everyone know who this guy is? Was? Everybody know Team Tab? This is a Taz singlet. Before I left Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine, Taz gave me this isn't the prize. You're not getting this. You got a much better prize than this. Okay, here's the deal. I want to see how long it takes for a normal human being to get into a Taz singlet. Okay? So, by a show of hands, and you can point to them, which Pirelli brother would you like to see first?
This one.
We got this Pirelli brother first. Okay, all right. Let's move this out of the way. Is our timekeeper ready? All right, now do you have any music down there that we could use? Dave, you have some music? Okay, so hold the Taz jersey. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to say, lights, camera, hold it down here, I work alone. We're going to do a countdown. We're going to say lights, camera, action. When they say action, hit the music, start the timer, let's see who wins. Ready? Everybody together. Lights, camera, action. We got our timing going, right? What is going on? He's doing this very methodically. Very methodically. I can't hear you, man, but okay, let's see. All right, stop the clock. Stop the clock. How much?
20.72.
20.72. You got to beat that. What were you saying,
I
Dan?
wondered if he realized it was a race.
Oh, he does. He knows that. You were very rude. So you need now to take it off. We're not going to take it off. Ya da 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 da. You all know. All right. So Be careful, because that's worth like $500,000 on eBay. This is what the Tasmaniac wore. Would you hold this for a moment, please? So what's the time he has to be?
20.72.
20.72. So we're going to turn it. And wait till you see the prize that comes with this. All right, come center stage. Oh, don't give up. Wait a minute, excuse me.
Survive if I let you.
All right. Did that hurt? No. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, let's have a big hand for him, by the way. He did really well. Really well. All right, let me know when. Are you ready?
That's all inside.
Okay.
Make sure
Ready?
it's not inside.
Lights.
Come on, Ben.
Sorry, I told you I work alone. Stop. Lights. Come on, camera. Action. Hit it. Hit it. Oh, another guy who sits down here. Look how relaxed he is, like no pressure. Oh, this is, come on, like really too easy. Oh, he's stuck. Don't never give up. That's it, he's disqualified. That's it. What time till he hit the floor?
About 27.
All right, so should we make it a draw?
No.
Who won?
He did. Son of death.
I'm going to tell you why he won. My wife said he's got to win. So, all right, I've got incredible prizes. Are you ready? Now, I know you didn't win, but you can hold the mic for a minute.
He's dislocated his shoulder.
There are real prizes here, if I can find them. You won't believe. You can talk among yourselves in the meantime.
It's a one-man show. We're not allowed to talk.
That's right, he works alone.
You work alone.
Oh, man. Okay, you know what? The prizes are in here, but I want to go through this whole bag, so they'll come out. So thank you both, and I will make sure you get your prizes, okay? You'll get your prizes, I promise. Let's have a hand for the Burley brothers. All right. All right. See, this time I didn't ask my wife to pack my bag, so that was it. Okay, so I have my basement. They did really well, high fives here. So my basement is known as Apter's Alley. And in my basement I have a lot of memorabilia, and I brought some of Apter's Alley here for you to actually see tonight. So, anybody know whose mask this was?
Rey Mysterio.
Right, this is the night Rey Mysterio got his only one prize per person. This is the night that Rey Mysterio lost the mask to Dean Malenko, and he won it back, and he gave me the mask. Would anyone like to try this on? It's a photo op. We had too many Pirellis already. We need somebody else. Anybody else besides Pirellis? Jorge, would you like to try this on? Let's hear it for George here. Go for it. Go for it. You like the body language here? Let's see if he can get the Rey Mysterio mask on. Now wait, before you turn around, just walk to me without turning around. Come back this way. Okay, now is the mask on? Okay, go down on your knees, turn around. Rey Mysterio, everybody! Rey Mysterio. All right, thank you, Jorge. This is the, you can stay up here, you can be my assistant for this one. This is the severed arm of Mick Foley. Here you go, Jorge. This is what has happened to the WCW belt. Yeah, you want to put that on? This is where the WCW title is today. This is the night Hulk Hogan won the title from the Iron Sheik. This is the headband that he gave me that night. Anybody want to try it on? You need to try it on. Come up here, sir. Come on. Come on. This might be another Pirelli here.
A non-Pirelli.
A non-pro, come on, let's see him do, come on up on the stage. Oh yeah! Okay, what's your name? Archie. No, Archie would say, go stifle yourself, Edith. So, would you like to put on the holster? This is a photo op, take out your...
Oh yeah!
Why is he doing Randy Savage? All right, now wait a minute, you want to take the shirt off? Okay, come on, yeah, let's do it. Take the shirt off. All right, now wait a minute. What I need you to do now is go... What you gonna do?
What you gonna do, brother?
When the holster runs off.
Twist around on you.
All right, let's hear it from the holster here. And a great Randy Savage. Thank you very much. Wow. All right. Oh, I got the prizes. Where are the Pirelli brothers? Oh, I got one of them. Come on up. No, one Pirelli brother. One Pirelli brother. The second one will be, here is a Walmart $1.50 WWE Cardboard Championship belt. Show it to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pirelli, champ of WWE, direct from Walmart. Direct from Walmart. All right. This is... Oh, I can't believe he must be A.E. Dub.
That's everything I did for you? That's crap.
Come back here. My feelings are hurt. You can take it, though. Give it to a kid walking down the street that might want that. He doesn't have that. Oh, no attacking from the end. Let's hear it for the champ here. All right, so now this is, anybody know whose match this is? Bill Masters, who was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time because he made what he did in the ring look like a ballet. So I need to show you my facial imitation of Bill Masters, okay? You all remember the face when he posed? You having a good time?
Yes.
This is the face of Bill Masters.
Pretty much.
Real name is Mel Moskowitz. He was a Jewish kid from the Bronx. You didn't know that, did you? Here you go, Jorge. Let's see what else I got here. Anybody remember this guy? Right, and do you know who he was imitating his whole career? How many of you remember The Honeymooners with Jackie Gleason? So when he would do a promo...
Today's Alice.
Right, okay. So when he did a promo, you know, Greg Valentine, Friday night, boy, you're going to the moon. Ralph Cramden, right? Same guy, yeah. All right, Mr. Wrestling number 2. Here's a Pro Wrestling Illustrated Sky Flyer. Nobody ever catches that. Nobody ever catches that. This is the first camera I ever used. This was when I shot the match where Bruno Sammartino lost the title to Ivan Koloff. So I have a question for some of you here, and a lot of you may not know what this is anymore. Anybody know what this is?
Film.
Film, yes. Any millennials here? Okay, so then you all know what film is. Before digital, before the internet. Here you go, Morgan. Redo that. All right. This is, I found this last week at FYI, and this is your prize, Mr. Pirelli.
Right here.
This is a WWE gummy bear belt. Look at the workmanship on this. You see this? A WWE gummy, you can eat this. No comments, please. That is your prize. You're welcome. Let's hear it for the Pirelli brothers again. This was my late dog's Bill Masters house. Yes, I lost Lexi a few weeks ago. Saddest day of my life. Saddest day. Do any of you know what this is? Anybody? No, this is, okay, hold on. Cassettes. Okay. So when I used to go out and do interviews, I interviewed people with this. There was nothing digital. And I was going through my collection the other night, and I'm just going to play 10 or 20 seconds. Bruno Sammartino at one time teamed up with the Bruiser in Detroit. And I did an interview with Bruno after the match, I want you to hear how clear these things sound.
Okay, this is Apter, and once again, we're speaking here with Valentine. First of all, how did you lose that title to the Lions?
Well, actually, it was a very unusual loss.
Anyway, but that's what this is how I used to do all my old recordings. This is the cowbelt. Anybody know what the cowbelt is? How many of you read my book? Okay, they're on sale outside here, by the way. You're wondering when I was going to plug that. So Cow is championship office wrestling. When the wrestlers used to go up to my office, to get on the cover, they had to put me over. Greg Valentine, Honky, Tonk, man, that put me over, but they got on the cover a lot anyway. So this was made by Reggie Parks. So, we're good. All right, and for the last piece of memorabilia, this is me without the comb over. What do you think? You like it? All right. Georgie, thank you very much. Let's have a hand for, are you ready? All right. So for my last thing here, and I need audience participation here. Okay? There's a very famous song that I like to do, and I do it totally different than anybody else. This is with a lot of different wrestler voices. And when I run out of wrestler voices, I need you people to yell out the voices and challenge me and see if I can do this. Okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hit it. We're going to start off with a little louder, with Dusty Rhodes. And now, the end is near. And so I face the final curtain, baby. My friends, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I've certain, right, Macho?
Oh, I've lived a life that's full. Oh, I travel each and every highway, brother. Oh, but more, much more than this. I did it my way, Superfly. You know something, brother? Regrets. I've had a few. But then again, brother, too few to mention, Hulkster. Well, you know, brother, I did what I had to do, man. And I saw it through. Without exemption, Pedro Morales. Well, you guys, man, each charted course, Valentine, each careful step along the byway, Terry Funk. But more, Bill Apter, more than this, I did it my way. Apter, take it for a minute. Yes, there were times, I am sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and I spit it out. I faced it all did it your way. For what man, what has he got if not himself? Then he has got to say the things he truly feels and not the words of one who lives. Don't let it show, baby. The dreams of the blow, baby. When you think I did it my way, if you will. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Did you have fun? Well, remember, but more than this, I did it my way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for being such a great audience. And right now, the reunion. Let's bring up, here he is, the WWE Hall of Famer, the Honky Tonk Man.
All right. Thank you so much. Turn that not too loud. For Christ's sake. The greatest Intercontinental Champion.
Of all time.
I thought you would have known that.
I do.
You did it your way.
You're right.
Anyway, thank you guys for coming out. Late start for an old man. I told JJ earlier. JJ Dillon's in the house. Give him a big hand. Another Hall of Famer. Thank you so much. Fabulous Mary Old Man Singing's back there. I mean, he's a legend. He took Dr. D. David Schultz's best shot right to the face. Lived to tell about it, brag about it. He actually got 2 pages in Schultz's book. I didn't get anything in Schultz's book. Traveled with him for 10 years. That's what you get, I guess. Anyway, I started in the wrestling business when I got out of college. I graduated college in 1975. Yes, I'm a very educated man. I thought I wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and I tried that, and a couple of my college buddies had started playing around with the wrestling business. The wrestling business didn't really catch on to me too much because my cousin, Jerry the King Lawler, he's the king now. He's the king. He had gotten over and was wrestling, and he went to college. He was on the art scholarship. Jerry, if you guys don't know, he's a fabulous artist. He could draw pictures. I remember when he was like 4 or 5 years old, he could draw pictures before he could sign his name or do anything. He's fabulous at that. He's as good as any of those people in Hollywood, anywhere in the world. He's a cartoon artist. But he got an art scholarship, but he was always interested. His dad would take him to the wrestling matches in Memphis, and he would go there, and he got started with the TV announcer. Jerry would draw pictures of what happened on Monday night, and this was before they had video stuff going and replays and things like that. And Jerry the TV announcer was Lance Russell, would bring him up and he would show his pictures, still photos. And that's how Jerry kind of worked his way into the wrestling business, and then he became a big star and went on. And I had another cousin, JJ might remember this young fella. He came through Charlotte once, Carl Fergie. Carl ended up wrestling all over the country, all over the world, and finished up with Bill Watts many years ago when Bill Watts went out and closed down his business. Carl had graduated from being a wrestler, never wanted to be a main eventer. He liked to go in and have the first match and go get his six-pack and get back on the road. And we were all, my mother and Carl's father and Jerry's mother were sister and brother. So our family, and then of course Jerry's 2 sons got into the wrestling business. So our end of the family was a family in the wrestling business. A lot of people don't talk about or remember or say, well, when you say these families, we were one of those wrestling families. But I went, my friend said, come on, let's go try this. I went up to Dyersburg, Tennessee. I drove from Memphis, 100 miles up there, and went in a barn and worked out with these guys. And I mean, I just get caught. It touched something in me that teaching and coaching didn't generate the juices flowing in my life. And I stuck with it and kept going. My two friends, the big weightlifters and football players from the university, they dropped out and never made it. I kept going. Dr. D. David Schultz went through the same training school the year before me. My cousin Carl Fergie went through the year before me with Herb Welch of the Welch family. You guys know them as the Fullers. Robert and Ron Fuller. Robert Fuller was Tennessee Lee at one point in his career, and what was it, Colonel Parker in WCW, where he married Sherry Martell. Sherry was very popular in our business in a lot of ways. She was Peggy Sue. She was Peggy Sue, for you people that didn't know. We dressed her up and put the wig on, and when she would go AWOL, which Peggy would do, Sherry would do, most of the time, a lot of times, missing in action, we would dress Jimmy Hart as Peggy Sue. The fans never forget it. Yes, it was Jimmy Hart with the wig and Jimmy actually put on pantyhose. He said, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "I want to make it look real." But I trained for about 9 months with Herb Welch. He was one of the best of the Welch family. And the Welches owned all of the south of the Mason-Dixon line. This family of wrestlers, there was about 5 or 6 of them. They owned the Florida territory, they owned part of Atlanta, all the Georgia territory, they owned Tennessee, they owned part of Mississippi, Alabama, they owned part of Kentucky, they owned part of Indianapolis with Dick the Bruiser. They had a piece of all of in West Virginia, and all. They were a big wrestling family. And to be trained by one of the Welches and by Herb pretty much ensured me of having a job for everywhere these Welches were, because when I first went to Tampa, Lester Welch worked in the Tampa office. He was one of the Welch, he was Herb's brother. So when Herb sent me down there, and Lester, you know, it was like, okay, I'm part of the family. So I got a job working in Tampa with them. And then when I went with Robert Ron Fuller in Southeastern, I always had a place to work. But being cousins with Jerry, Jerry was, I mean, he was the king, and he didn't want anybody to be, you know, at family reunions, he was the king. He drove a Cadillac car, you know, he had the diamond rings on, and he was Jerry the king. So he didn't really like someone else in the family, you know, moving into his territory. But Jerry Jarrett took a liking to me. And Jerry Jarrett was one of these guys he liked to needle Lawler a lot, you know, and Bill Dundee, another guy that worked over there, they would needle Lawler a lot. You know, your cousin's going to be better than you, Jerry. And then when Jerry would be the booker, he would like destroy me. Every match I was getting killed every night. But then Jerry Jarrett would come in and take it over, and the next thing you know, I get a push now. I'm getting to be a big star. And so we did a thing there that kind of set me on the path of doing good in the wrestling business, and it was the Tupelo concession stand match, where we took this thing called hardcore and did it. Jerry Jarrett was in a quandary, so to speak, because he had Robert Ron Fuller and the Mongolian Stomper and Fuji and Tanaka and these people in the territory. They decided to go back to Knoxville and just leave. And they gave like 2 days notice. And myself and my partner at the time, we had blonde hair. We were called Blonde Bombers. You guys up in this area of the country remember him as Spot Moondog. Yes, his name was Larry Latham, and he went by the name Larry Booker. He was my cousin Carl's first partner, and then he became my partner. And we went to Florida, and we left Florida because things just where we started to death. The trip for long, we weren't making any money. So he called Ole Anderson. Ole said, "I can't use anybody right now. I'm loaded with guys, but Jerry Jarrett needs someone right away." He called Jerry Jarrett. We called Jerry Jarrett from Tampa, and he said, "Can you be here tomorrow?" And we said, "Hell yes," and we took off. That's my phone. That's my son calling me. He knows I won't answer it. I hope he knows. It's not important, believe me, he's won't borrow money. I left him $100 when I left home. I said, here, but make sure you buy cat food here. You know, I won't be back for about 2 weeks. But hey, my dad never left me anything. You know, beat up old cotton farm, but it was no good when I finally sold it after he passed away. But at least he left that farm. So we went up to Memphis, and Jerry Jarrett came in the locker room in this little town in Tupelo, Mississippi. He said, we have to do something. We got to do it fast. He said, I've got the TV camera down here. Lance Russell's the TV announcer's here. We're going to film this match tonight. You guys go out, 2 out of 3 tag match. You and Lawler, Dundee, and Wayne, you and Larry, and you guys win the belts, and then all hell breaks loose after the 3rd fall. And we did that. All hell broke loose. He said, just tear the place up. And the old guy, the local promoter, he said, well, you guys don't tear up my popcorn machine now. So we stayed away from the popcorn machine. We filmed that thing, and it became an overnight sensation. It showed on the Saturday morning TV the next morning at 11 o'clock. We had a show that night in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and the people, they turned away about 2,000 people. They can only get like 400 in the building. They turned 2,000 away. And for the next 6 months, they turned people away all over every town that Jerry Jarrett ran. And Nick Doulis wanted it in Nashville. We took it there, and we played the tape there, and we did it all again, all over the Nashville territory. There was a young kid in the audience. Actually, he was breaking into business. His dad was there and worked on the show. I think his dad wrestled Coco that night. Coco Beware the Birdman, and him and I broke in together. He was in the training school with me with Herb Welch, and we actually trained each other, Coco and I. We could have the same match tonight as we had back in training school. That's been over 40 years ago. But the young fellow that was there that night and watching the matches with his dad, he went on to Philadelphia and met up with a guy named Paul Heyman and the other guy that was Paul's partner over there. I don't remember his name because I didn't really work for them. The young boy that saw all this carnage that night, his name was Eddie Gilbert. And Eddie saw all this stuff we did with this Tupelo concession stand match, and he went over and they then created a thing called ECW, where all of the matches were Tupelo concession stand matches. What we had was controlled violence. They have become uncontrolled violence now with this nonsense these kids are doing. I saw one fall off a building into the back of a truck. I mean, somebody's going to die. This business is not something to die for, but it's going to happen. After that, I went to different territories all over. My mother got sick, was real sick with cancer. I took a year off, stayed home with her so my dad could keep working. And times got hard. I needed to get back on the road. I called Buck Robley. He was with Tully Blanchard's dad in Florida, and not Florida, but Texas, and I went there, and then had to go home. My mother passed away, and Lawler, standing at my mother's funeral, said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I need to get to work. He said, don't do anything till I call you. He hadn't called me in 35 years. What if I didn't do anything? So I left and went back to Florida, Pensacola with the Fullers, and then I adopted this Honky Tonk Man character there that I talked about in the Hall of Fame speech. And the reason I did that speech in that Hall of Fame is because I wanted to do something different, not talk about me as the wrestler. I've given all you more information tonight than I gave that whole millions of people that watched the Hall of Fame speech. I wanted to say how this character came about, because that's what everyone knows. No one knows my real name or anything about me. When somebody calls me by my real name, they either know me from a long time ago, but now they Wikipedia, or it's the Internal Revenue Service or the FBI. I don't think my kids know my real name. And so, but anyway, I developed this character. It was just something that came into my head because I had tried a lot of things. I had been punk rock. I had been, the blonde bomber. I had been the masked marvel. It's like Lawler said, buy more uniforms, I can book you more. Well, I'm making $5 a match. I can't afford to buy more masks. And you call me one day I'm masked marvel. The next day I go put the mask on, the red shadow, and then I'm the medic with a white mask on. you know, buy a bodysuit. That way I can use you 10 times. I'm serious. I worked like 10 matches every day, every night. I learned a lot in like 2 weeks. I did like 50 matches. You go somewhere now, you ask a kid how many. I asked a kid in Toronto one time, I said, how long you been working? He said, 3 years. And Jimmy Snook said, hey brother, you better find out how many matches. I said, well, how many matches you had? He said, 16. I said, in 3 years, you had 16 matches? But what made me want to ask him this is because he's like you, Mancini, when you were young in the locker room, running your mouth, and that's why you got slapped around. So, this kid says, and Jimmy Snook has said in there, and you know, we're both pretty liquored up, Jimmy and I, and Jimmy smoked up and everything, and it was a long trip from Toronto down to that town we went, and it was a couple of hours, so it was 2 12-packs. So, this kid says, I've been thinking about what we need to do in our match tonight. I've been thinking about the finish, how we need to do this. I said, oh, you have? You've been thinking. Now I'm starting to think like, thinking, yeah. I've been thinking. I said, that's when I asked him how long he'd been in the business. Then he said 16 matches, and I got onto him like a Baptist preacher. But I used very bad language. It was like, who the fuck do you think you have? You don't need to be thinking. You don't even know how to think, you son of a bitch. Don't you tell me. And I went, and Jimmy was like egging me on, and it was like 15 minutes I ringed this kid. I think he left the business after that and never came back, as far as I know. But I was just broke in a different way where Mancini will tell you, he found out the hard way. When they tell you to shut up, shut up. Don't go in there saying what you're going to do and what you've been thinking about. I mean, after about 5 years, you start thinking, you do start thinking. You start saying, I've been doing this shit all wrong. I'm going out here doing all the wrong stuff. Then 5 more years later, you say, man, I've really been screwing up. It takes about 10 or 15 years to really understand what's going on out here and how to do this and make this thing work for you. And if you're not, if you're in your late 20s, and by then I'm like almost 40 by the time I realize this is what I need to be doing. And I picked up a good name for my eBay thing now. It's called No Bumps. Yes, no bumps. You only got so many in you. Well, that honky tonk man's lazy. He won't take any bumps. I guess a good match now means how many bumps do you take? Well, if I go out and just fly all over the ring, take bumps everywhere, I just have a great match. So I developed this character, Black. I wanted to get rid of the blonde hair. I was tired of it. People were accusing me of looking like Michael Hayes because we both had long blonde hair and I could sing better than Michael anyway. And I remember him starting in Pensacola. He was driving a parts truck for one of the Ford dealerships. That's what he did. He was a parts runner. And he came there and he didn't have any boots that night in Dothan, Alabama. And he borrowed Sonny King's boots. And Sonny King had a size 15 foot. So Michael Hayes went out there looking like Bozo the Clown. I saw Michael at the Hall of Fame WrestleMania and said, how about them Sonny King boots, huh? And his face got red. He said, why do you always say that? It's like Terry Taylor, I saw him. I said, hey, Rooster, you always call me Rooster. I said, well, you're a rooster, for Christ's sakes. So I developed this character. Ron Fuller let me do it. Some wrestling fans gave me a jumpsuit. These girls made it for me. You know, us wrestlers, we're always letting people do stuff for us. They said they want to make me something for Christmas. They showed up with a gold jumpsuit. And Robert Fuller asked me about the guitar. Do I know how to play it? I said, no, I don't know anything about it. He said, man, I tell you what, I got an old guitar at home. I'll bring that thing next week. You hit Bob Armstrong with it, man, we're going to be off and running. And I went out there, hit Bob Armstrong. You guys might know Bob. He's a Hall of Famer and from a famous family. All his boys were wrestlers. Great talent, all of them. Very good guys, good people. And I did that with Bob, and we took off and did some real good business. business, and then that's how it happened. And after that, David Schultz, your friend Mancini, Dr. D, who threatened to kill Vance and Hogan, and Dr. D's threatened to kill everybody, even me. And he convinced me to go to Calgary.
And the best there is, the best there ever was.
No, that's not Brett, that's Stu. Schultz says, come on, go with me, man. We make a lot of money up there. And he had all these angles and everything. And I get up there, I left the beach in Pensacola 3 days later. It's 40 below zero. I've got my high school football jacket on. I've got blue jeans, a pair of cowboy boots. Standing there looking like Elvis with black hair and sideburns. And Stu's got me on the front porch of his house. Snow is up to your waist.
And he's telling me,
and my teeth were chattering. I was freezing to death. But anyway, Schultz talked me into going up there and said, Stu's got a young daughter. She's very pretty, you know, and he's got all these kids, you know, and if you get in there, you know, and everything, you know, who knows what, you might end up living in Calgary. So I go over and I see this young girl. She's a pretty girl. Her name's Diana. A very pretty girl. She still is. And she married David Schmidt. So I go over and I introduce myself. I said, hi, I'm Honky Tonk Man. She,
yes, my father thinks
this is nothing. So Owen passes away. I'm sitting home. I call up to Stu's house. I'm in Phoenix. I hear about all this, so I call up to the house there and to find out where to send the flowers for the funeral. And the girl answers the phone. And I said, hello. I said, this is Honky Tonk Man. I'm calling to find out.
Hey, have you seen that fucking husband of mine, Jim Nyhart? He's off running around with some whores in Florida.
I said, Ellie, I just want to find out where to send the flowers for Owen. I haven't seen Jim.
Hey, if you see that son of a bitch, you tell him, hey, don't come back here.
I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm trying to find out where to send flowers for your brother's funeral, and she's bitching about her husband running around in Florida with some whores. They all talk the same way is what I'm trying to say. There's 20 of them and they all So you know what? It was the worst time of my life ever in the history of my wrestling career. But it was the best education I ever had to be around all of these characters that were in one family. And they were all uniquely different. And I saw them fight each other in the locker room, and I saw Stu come in and try to break. The fight spills over into the hallway where all the fans could see it. The matches are going on in the ring, and here's Stu pushing with two of his kids, and the oldest one, Smith, he tried to kick Stu in the Niagara's, and Stu blocked it, and went to kick his kid. And Stu falls down. It was a mess. I mean, so I stayed there, but I must have loved the aggravation so much, I went back again. And I liked it so much, I married a Canadian girl from Calgary, and I lived there. Yes. Yes. But if I had not gone to Calgary, I would not have met up with my friend that I had met many years ago in Pensacola. And he came there because Louis Tillett brought him in from Tampa. And Louis Tillett was booking, and he was saying, we got the Hulk, the Hulk. And we were going, Hulk, who's Hulk? We got the Hulk. Louis, with his French accent, he brought Hogan into Pensacola, and Hogan brought his sidekick, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. They were called the Boulder Brothers, Big Boulders. And that's where we met up, and they needed a place to stay, and Schultz and I let them move into our apartment, and we threw the beds down on the floor, the back box springs and everything. Yeah. So that's how we, and then he returned the favor to me. Many years later in Calgary, I happened to be on one of the big shows there they had, and when WWE was really starting to go haywire and go big. They were selling out everywhere. It was huge, huge business all over North America. And Vince was starting to run the big arenas now, and he had the, you know, the NBC TV, which really, really got them going. I think without that Saturday night main event, I don't know if the WWE would have ever taken off like it did. But that legitimate television show on that Saturday night main event really made superstars out of everyone in that company. And I wanted to be part of it. You know, I mean, I'd been around for like 15 years, toiling along, and now I'm buried up here in the deep freeze. I'm in cold storage with the and all those kids. But Brett and Jim had gone. They were there. Dynamite and Davey was there. Gosh, am I ever going to get a chance? And then Hogan saw me and said, I mean, he'd never seen me doing this thing. He had not seen it. And he thought that it would fit in. And he put the word in, and the next morning Vince called, and 2 days later I had an interview down there at the office, and that was it. And they hired me, and then I went to work there, and everything else, he tried to make me as a baby face because he wanted me to be a good guy. Vince loves merchandise. That's it. That's a big money maker. It's huge, t-shirts, and he could see kids with little black wigs and little jumpsuits, and he was telling me, I said, Vince, I made this character to be like a dirty, nasty, mean, bad guy. I said, I don't know if it'll work. Well, let's just try it. Let's try it. So he tried it and gave me a rub off of Hogan. It did not work. I mean, the fans hated my ass. But here's the thing. When I look back on it, my first TVs were in Brantford, Ontario in Canada, outside Toronto. Well, I had been on British Columbia on BCTV for about a year because I left Stu and went over to BCTV for a guy named Tonk. And BCTV was like Atlanta TV, Ted Turner's TV. It went all across Canada every Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock. So for a year, everyone in that country had seen this guy in the jumpsuit with the black hair hitting people with a guitar named Honky Tonk Man. So then I burst on the scenes in WWE, and everybody in that building in Canada booed my ass off that night I walked out there. And every time I was in any of those Canadian towns, if we had 3 hours of TV, I got booed all 3 hours. The next day we're in another town in Canada for another TV taping, and I got booed again. They put me with guys, good heels that would go out there, and the heels would come back, Don Morocco and those guys, even Iron Mike Sharp, he would hit me, and beat the shit out of me, and the fans in Toronto were like screaming, kill that fucking Honky Tonk Man, yeah! And the heels were coming by going, this guy, he's killing us, we can't, Don Morocco, I can't get any heat with this guy, they're turning me babyface out there. So they had to switch it. And Jesse Ventura, thank you, Jesse. It was his idea to do the 1-800 vote of confidence, and then I got switched, and from then on, it was, I took off because I knew if I got the opportunity, if I was given that chance, I could make this thing happen. And I fell into that wrestling belt, I backed into it, as I told JJ, Pat Patterson, I backed up there. You're not feminist, are you? I would like to see him get a job there. I don't think Pat's working there. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Why are you laughing, Valentine? You had the belt too. You must have backed into it. So anyway, Butch Reed was supposed to get the belt, and Butch went AWOL. We were in Buffalo, and I don't know if he stayed too long over in Boston or whatever with Greg's old girlfriend over there, the Boston Ripper. Or Annie, or whatever her name was.
Yes, Annie.
You know Annie?
I know her stories.
Holy Christ. Anyway, Butch didn't show up, so I I went in the hallway and walked by, and Vincent Hogan's talking, and Hogan went, "What about this guy?" Vincent did his, "Well, maybe so." He said, "I'll let you guys talk," and that's how it happened, right there, because Steamboat wanted time off. Ricky had been on a long run with Savage, and they'd been together for, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, almost a year. Was doing good business, and he wanted to go home and be with his wife and new baby and all that stuff. You can't blame him. But Vince, you know, he wanted the belt, the championship titles had to be in the towns, and that's how it happened for me. And the rest was, it's all over. That's where he went. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg the Hammer Valentine. Come on up. Usually in some of my show I do, in my normal show I do. Don't do that, please. I'm talking. We don't need the music. Everybody knows it. Greg didn't like music anyway. He said,
I want to go out there with
he wanted to wrestle. He said, "I'm a wrestler." I said, "Well, you wrestle. I'm going to go out here and do the song and dance, okay?" Someone said, "How was that when Greg's singing the song?" I said, "He never learned the words to it." They asked me about WCW. Maybe you'll ask me. Let me tell you, I wasn't there long enough to learn the words to the new song they had for me in WCW, okay? And I did give that guy that name, Bitch Off. I take full responsibility for giving him that name. But anyway, Greg and I we ended up together, and we were going to do okay, but the Road Warriors came along, and then they didn't need the rhythm and blues anymore, so that was it.
Here they are. Jimmy Hart chases me around for a year. Bottle of black hair dye. You gotta do this, Greg, or they're gonna fire you. You gotta dye your hair. I said, what's wrong with Greg Valentine, blonde, and Honky Tonk Man? It's already on the covers of magazine, Rhythm and Blues. Me with the blonde hair and the long robes, and Honky Tonk Man with his suits. No. I guess it was Jesse Ventura's idea. He always wanted to do something that, you know, we were already a good tag team. We were already in WrestleMania 4 against the Hearts. He with the blonde hair, Honky Tonk Man, the way he was. But Jesse Ventura saw us come out one time and he says to Vince, he goes, "What a shock it would be to have Greg Valentine come out with black hair." No shit. 20 years of blonde hair, all of a sudden come out with black hair. But it took a while before they broke me down, and I remember my wife, Julie, she would say, "You better not come home with your hair black, or I'm leaving you. In fact, don't come home at all. You can stay with Honky Tonk Man." So, it was in Phoenix, Arizona. We were doing a taping there. Jimmy Hart's got the bottle, got that black hair dye. I said, "Oh, shit, just go ahead and dye my hair." So I dyed my hair, went out. We did like 3 different tapings that night. Then I went home, and then Tampa there at the airport, underneath there, they got where the cars keep going around and around. Julie goes by. Julie goes by. Yeah. I swear to you, she went by 3 or 4 different times. Finally, I had to get out. "It's me!" "No, it's not." "Yes, it is." I got in the car. "I can't believe he did that." I go, "You know what? Gonna make some money, some paychecks. What the hell?" And that's how Rhythm and Blues started out. And I really put a lot into Rhythm and Blues, at least I thought I did, you know, and I'd been there a long time in WWF, and I was always solid, no clowning around, just hard-nosed wrestling, which I was known for, and my dad was known for. So this was a departure for me, but it was, I'm going to enjoy this. And I did enjoy it. I enjoyed going out acting like I could sing. I enjoyed acting like I could sing or play a guitar. And got me the white jacket made up and everything. It was a lot of fun, rhythm and blues. What the hell? It was a lot of fun. When I look back at it on the films and tapes I got at home, I go, you know what? We got a lot of heat, especially when people come up to me. You sold yourself out. You know what? I got about another year's worth of paychecks because I did that. Yeah, I sold myself out. But you know what? I looked at those matches, and those matches were good, and Vince let us go because he signed the Road Warriors. So he brought Honky in the booth with him, and he sent me to Japan. I went to Japan every month, and I finally got my hair back blonde, but it kept falling out. Because when you go blonde to black, back to blonde, you kill, that's 3 different things you put through your hair, and it just fell out. But eventually, it's back now. But, the rhythm and blues, I've had a great career in wrestling, but that was a different one. And Honky Tonk Man was a good partner. I've had a lot of good partners. Ric Flair was a good partner. Many years I was with Ric Flair. He was crazy. Brutus Beefcake was a good partner. Who else? I had Ray Stevens as a partner. World Tag Team Champions. I had Aaron Von Raschke, one of them. You'd think this guy was a real mean guy, Aaron Von Raschke, but he was like one of the most mellow guys I've ever met in my life. We do a lot of trips in the Mid-Atlantic. We had a lot of miles to do there. I never saw Aaron ever get mad. I'd get mad, frustrated about just any little thing, and he'd just sit back and just cry. Never got mad about anything, and he was one tough son of a bitch, and legitimate NCAA champion wrestler. I mean, he knew what to do. I'm listening to the Stu Hart stories, and there's one, I was up here and got inducted in the Hall of Fame up here in New England 4 or 5 years ago. Somebody asked me what Stu teach me, and I go, well, I got down there in the dungeon. The dungeon was actually the basement of his house there. And he had a nasty-ass gray mat, about that thick, all dirty and everything. My dad, I think, my dad says, you sure you want to wrestle? I go, yeah, I want to wrestle. But he sent me up there with no boots. And he sent me to Calgary. It was 40 below zero. So, it wasn't like a cakewalk for me. So he didn't want it to be. But anyway, I ended up getting this awful infection on my feet called infantile. I actually had to go to an emergency room to have my feet scraped on. And so finally, I think it was Dave Brule, this old timer, Dave Brule gave me some boots so I could find, but they had a snake on the side of them. So I blacked that out, but I finally had some boots. But I remember Stu, this story, and this is a legitimate story too. Stu would be on the phone. He would be on the phone like 4 or 5 hours, maybe even longer than that every day talking. A couple times that I talked to him, it was like I couldn't get him off the phone. Well, say it. So I'm not supposed to be laughing. You're laughing. I don't know what you said. So he's on the phone, and he had these long conversations. So this cat would come up. He had all kinds of cats, but this calico cat, I guess, he would come up. And he'd walk around and he'd walk around, and Stu had his pencil in his hand. He'd be writing down. And finally, the cat, he'd take the pencil, the end of the pencil, the eraser in, and he'd rub the cat's ass with his pencil. And then he'd rub the balls of the cat. The cat would be like helping you on the cat's foot. And this would go on for friggin' hours. Finally, Stu would hang up the phone, go back to whatever. The phone would ring again. That cat would beat him to the phone. They told me about the spatula thing, but I don't believe it. Where you'd be frying eggs with a spatula and the cat shit would be on the floor and you'd take it like this and throw it in the garbage and then flip the eggs. I don't believe that. I never. But I do believe the cat, the horny cat. You imagine every time the phone rings, the cat. But you know, being Ric Flair's partner was a real joy.
Sure it was.
That's where I got my first divorce and almost my second one. And Ric Flair, George Scott was a booker, Jimmy Crockett was a promoter. All these guys, all these top guys and all these promoters and bookers and stuff, Rick would mess around, but he wouldn't get a divorce. But all the other guys, because of what Rick would do and all the parties, everybody got divorced. And finally, Rick got a divorce too. But he spearheaded that. He was wild. He used to have a guy, he would pay a guy to, Rick had his own limousine. Let's see, this is 1985. So this is like a 1965 limo, long and black. They had this young kid driving us to the towns. And then we'd leave the town, and we'd have like, I swear to God, we'd have like 8 or 9 cars full of girls' balls. We were like the Beatles, except we were in the Carolinas. We were the blonde-haired Beatles. I can't go. This is not an X-rated thing here, so I can't tell you what went on, but you can imagine. And so then I ended up getting a divorce too. And it was all Flair's fault, it really was. I gotta tell you, Johnny Valentine, my dad, God bless Johnny Valentine, he was there. He's the one who got the Mid-Atlantic area rocking and rolling, and Flair was his partner. And I remember Rick told me this story. So they drank a lot of beer together going down the road. Finally, Flair said, I gotta go to the bathroom, I gotta pee. My dad says, hold it. He just kept driving and driving. Flair says, I can't take it, let me out. You want out? So he let him out. Now there's somewhere between Raleigh and Charlotte. They always took the 2-lane highway instead of the freeway, because the freeway went way around the other way, way out of the way. So Flair's out there taking a big piss. My dad, now this is out in the country, my dad just drove off and left. But you know, Flair, blonde hair he is and everything, and back in the day, you know, Channel 5 went everywhere, and he just out there, and someone picked him up not too long after that. That's a funny story. Yes.
You're on your own, son. Okay, I'll ask you about that girl in Greenville, Texas.
Oh, actually, I got a few notes here. I can keep going.
No, don't pull those notes out. You guys got any questions? Anybody? Just ask them, you don't have to walk. Anybody? Now, JJ, I know you have at least one.
Hey, Greg, what was it like to
Okay.
work with taking partner with Don Fargo when I first met you?
Oh, yeah, because
Don Fargo.
Don Fargo.
You were one of the Fargo brothers.
Yeah.
I'd only been in the business about a year in Albany, New York.
Yep, that's when I met you.
You and George
Yeah.
came up to see me.
Yep,
Took pictures of me and everything, got me in the magazines.
yeah.
Being Donnie Fargo's partner was, it was a real experience. I mean, he knows Don Fargo. The man was nuts. And my dad used to get mad because I was his partner. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? I did learn a lot from him in the ring. I learned all kinds. I never could do that strut like he did. I learned a lot from him. I learned how to party. I learned how to tear houses up. I know how to, I'm not going to go further than that.
You learn how to take wine enemas? But he asked me tonight, he said, how'd you lose all that weight? And I said, I was taking, I did Don Fargo, I was taking wine enema. And he said, no, you didn't. But Fargo used to say that, he loved to do that, and he told me this story. And he said, you get instantly drunk, like really drunk. And I said, yeah. He said, and I said, well, that's it? He said, well, you just kind of, your bowels went all over everywhere. Oh, so if I take a wine enema, I get really drunk, but I can't control myself. He said, yeah, it goes everywhere. But I studied Fargo, and when I was really doing my heel stuff, I did a lot of Don Fargo stuff because I watched it. I studied good guys, the guys that I thought, I studied Sputnik Monroe, and I listened to Sputnik Monroe. I believe Sputnik Monroe's interviews when I was watching wrestling as a fan. I really believe that the wrestling business was diamond rings and limousines, a rich girl's lover and a poor girl's dream. I believe that. And I found out that it was not diamond rings and limousines. And it wasn't rich girls at all. There was a lot of poor girls. But that's what, those kind of things that those guys would say hooked me into the business. And Don Fargo was a ring general. This guy, Jerry didn't mind him too bad, but Lawler didn't like him. He put him on the first match and sent him out there and said, go 20 minutes with a green kid like me. Don Fargo could walk to the ring just the way he carried himself and start a fight with the fans before he ever climbed the steps into the ring. And then when he got in the ring, he could start a riot within a minute of him just being in the ring.
Yeah, just the way he strutted. You know, it was Buddy Rogers had a hell of a strut, but Fargo would beat him out. Fargo could have a match by himself.
Yes. Yes.
Really good.
You're just a ring general, and to learn and watch someone like that. Then I traveled with Fargo a lot, which was a big mistake. You know, this guy he was a beautiful artist also. He could draw just beautiful murals and things, and all this stuff. And one time I was in the van in Puerto Rico. I was down there, and Dory Funk, Dory and Terry were there, and we were all in the van. We were driving along, and I was just telling a Fargo story about the wine enemas and stuff like that. And Dory went, Fargo, holy shit! I guess Dory's daughter came home one day and said that, and Dory's telling this story, and it's funny to hear Dory tell it because back then Dory was on like a 20-second delay. I don't know what he was doing. But he said, hey Dory, how you doing? He wouldn't say anything for about 20 seconds. Oh, hi. How's everything, Dory? Good.
Well, he was the booker in Mid-Atlantic Territory. Dory was the booker, right? So he's walking down the hallway and he goes in this door and he shuts the door. And Jimmy Crockett said, where'd Dory going? I go, he went in that door, and he goes, well, that's a fucking closet in there.
So anyway, I don't know. That's like Dory was on like a 20-second delay when he'd say that. but he tells a story, and it was a great story. It was funny as hell. His daughter comes home and from school out in Amarillo, and she said, "Dad, I've met this guy, and I would like him. He's really a nice guy and everything, and I'd like to see him. But he told me that I can't tell you who his father is." You guys know where I'm going with the story now. And Dory says, "Well, what do you mean? I got to know who the kid. I mean, you know, why is he afraid to say who his father is?" He said, "Because you won't let me see him anymore because of his father." He said, "Well, that ain't got anything to do with you and the guy." He said, "What's his name?" "His dad is Don Fargo." He said, "No, you're not seeing him, not at all. You're never seeing that kid again." Don Fargo had a reputation of doing like really bizarre stuff. It was bizarre. First time I met Fargo, I walked in the locker room in Memphis. I'm a young kid. I walk in and I see him sitting there. And he's all buffed up and he's oiled up and he's looking rough and his eyes are all black and he's cut his eyes. He used to take it, he would actually cut his eyes so he looked like he'd been in bar fights and stuff. And he made you think that that's what happened, but it wasn't a bar fight. And I said, "Hello, my name's Wayne Ferris. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Fargo. I've heard a lot about you." And I use this line, it's lived with me forever. I use this same line he said. I said, "I've heard a lot about you." And he looked up and he said, "It's all true." And it was. When I traveled with him, I found out it was all true. In the trunk of his car, he had his KKK clothes. He had a machine gun. And he told me the best way to kill someone is with a bow and arrow. He said they can't trace it. And I'm riding along, driving my car, and he's riding with me. And Don Fargo made me an alcoholic. You got to blame somebody, you know. I'm not like Ric Flair. I'm not blaming my agent for stealing all my money. Woo! But anyway, Rick always blames somebody. You know, all addicts blame somebody else. And Rick's whatever addict he is. I mean, he's an addict of losing money, I think, but or making bad decisions. Anyway, but Fargo. We're going to go to the gym. And I said, because I don't want to work out. He was Mr. Pittsburgh. He had a hell of a body on him. He could be 250 pounds, and then you see him 2 weeks later, the guy was
300.
And all of a sudden, he's ripped to shreds and looking great. So he wants to go to the gym with me, and I said, "Okay, we'll go about 9 o'clock in the morning." He says, "Okay, sure." So we get in the car, we're leaving, going over to the gym. He says, "Pull in over at the liquor store." He said, I said, "For what?" He said, "I need to get a 6-pack of beer." It's 9 in the morning. He said, "Yeah, it's good. We drink the beer and then we go work out. It makes you work out better." I'm a college kid. I mean, there at the liquor store knew me from when I had a truck route coming by. He said, "What am I doing buying beer at 9 o'clock in the morning?" But I'm with Fargo, and that was his thing. And you know what? I started doing that, and I did it for many, many years. I'd go to the gym, drink a 6-pack, and then have to go outside and drink some beer and go back in and work out some more. It was like, that was like, I told you this story. Don Fargo would do that. But I'm driving along with him in Nashville one time, and we're making a trip. And the wrestling magazine, and there was a story in the magazine, one of your magazines, Bill. You didn't ever put me on the cover. Don't say you did. That was a lie. I called you out. No, you didn't. Never put me on the cover. The only time you put me on the cover was one time there in I don't know. That might have been the other guy's book. That might have been George's book. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. No, I know. Don't blame Vince. Don't blame Vince for not putting me on the cover. I wrestled a long time before I was ever in New York. Anyway, so there's an article in there about me or something, or list. I'll read that shit you guys wrote, you know, the top 10 of whatever.
Right.
Well, I was on there for something. I don't know what it was. Worst wrestler of all time. So anyway, I'm looking. We're driving along, and he's got the beer we're drinking. He's smoking marijuana. I said, "Don," I hand him the book. He looks through it. I said, "Would you read that part in there? Read this story for me." And he sits there and he looks at it. He puts the book down. He says, "Hell, I can't read." And I said, "Bullshit, man. Can you read the story for me?" He said, "I'm serious. I can't read and I can't write." I said, "You draw all these pictures. What? Don't bullshit around, man. I mean, read the story to me. It's a 500-mile trip. We got to have something to do." He could not read or write.
Yeah, we could draw, but
He could not read or write. Then it happened to me again. I'm riding with this boy named Tonga Kid. Remember Tonga Kid, Snooker's partner? We're driving from Philadelphia to Baltimore, doing a double shot, and I don't know where I'm going. I've never driven on the East Coast. And you know how the road signs are. It's like 50 road signs on one post of roads and highways. And I give the map to the Tonga Kid. And I said, tell me which exit to take. I said, we're running late, they're going to find us. I said, I need to know the exit. And he sits there and he looks, I said, for Christ's sakes, man, I didn't say it that way, but I said, tell me where to fucking turn off, man, hurry. He said, shit, man, I can't read hell. I said, what? What do you mean? I said, I've known you since you were 12 years old on the beach in Pensacola. I never went to school. He never went to school. This kid could not read it, neither could Jimmy Snuka. I swear to God, you guys know Tonga Kid. He still can't read.
I'm off for it, my cousin. Jimmy was good.
I'm riding in the car and these guys can't even read or write. Anyway, when I met Don Fargo, he had just gotten out of Iowa State Prison. He pulled 12 or 13 years over there for armed. He said, I just got out of here. I said, where have you been working? He said, I just got out of Iowa State. Oh, how was that over there? He said, well, I've been locked up. He'd been in prison for armed robbery. Yeah, so that was Don. That was my story. This is my education. I left college and left a teaching job. And the first night I was in the wrestling business, I saw a guy get hit over the head with an axe handle in Malden, Missouri. The guy, something happened at the front up there in the old chicken coop where we wrestled, because they used to store chickens in there, and they'd move them out for us to have wrestling matches. It smelled like a chicken house. Not fried chicken, dirty, nasty chickens in the chicken place. Something happened and the guy broke the window in the old door. And the locker room emptied, and they said, let's go get that son of a bitch. And everybody ran out of the locker room, and I was like, where are they going? And the guy grabbed an axe handle, and he chased this guy down the railroad tracks and whacked him right over the head. And I'm watching like, what the hell is going on? And he hit this guy, bam! Down he went. They leave him, they come back in, everybody's laughing. Yeah, we got that son of a bitch doing. The next Saturday night, some guy got pistol whipped in the locker room because something happened in the match that the other guy didn't like. And they took a pistol out and he pistol whipped and the blood was all over everywhere. Lord, I said, what in the hell? And this is diamond rings and limousines? Yeah, you're going to wrestle Lou Thesz next week. What? I had 3 matches and I'm going to wrestle Lou Thesz? And I did. My trainer, Herb Welch, told me, I said, I'm going to have to bring Lou Thesz in there again. He said, let me show you what he's going to do. And he went through everything, and Lou did everything that he said, and exactly like he said. And when Lou asked me, he said, who trained you? And I said, Herb Welch. He said, oh, okay, he's a good trainer. You know you'll be okay out there, don't worry. And he went out there and beat the shit out of me. But I was able to fight back. And then he went back to the locker room and told the guy, he said, when I come back next month, I want this kid again. Because I didn't hurt him, I didn't do anything, I did everything perfect to his repertoire that I watched him on YouTube. God bless YouTube, I've watched him. And he had the same match with all those guys in the 30s and the 40s he had with me in the 70s. Yes. Yes, and I opened my envelope and I wrestled Lou Thesz and I'm thinking, holy shit, there's a good little house there, at least 60 people. And the envelope had $5 in it. I drove 100 miles up there and I made $5. He got beat up, blood coming out of my ears, my jaws were sore. Yes, I got to wrestle the old man that was tan and in shape, and he had the boots perfect. He had the socks were solid white, perfect. The strings on the boots were new. He had new ones put in, and he sat there and put them in. It was unbelievable to watch this. But that's how it all worked for me. It wasn't diamond rings and limousines by any imagination. But that's nothing compared to all the other things that's happened. JJ's got tons of more stories. I wish he was up here doing this talking, because I won't tell the Greenville, Texas story.
No,
I won't tell them that Greg's living girlfriend, Medusa, next month we got a show in Minneapolis, Duluth, Minnesota. and she just got added to the show with me.
Are you up there? Are you up
I
there?
didn't tell you that.
Well, she's not there, is she?
Why, you gonna cancel?
Maybe. No, I'll go there.
But,
Are you gonna
yeah, Duluth, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody have a question for Greg or myself real quick?
What's some of the stories that you guys had with Roddy? You both
I wasn't around Roddy a whole lot. For some reason, Roddy he just didn't take to me, and we were to get, I'll give you a story, and I still kind of wish it never happened. The week that Roddy passed away, I was to see him at the Sacramento Comic Con in Sacramento that week, that coming weekend. He passed away on like a Monday or a Tuesday. And we were going to sit down and have a sit down and hash out why he had the dislike for me that I didn't understand why. And I never got to find out. After all these years, because it had been like an internet war going back and forth with Roddy, and you know, he would say the only guy he ever wanted to really beat up in the business was me. It was like, what did I ever do to this guy? But anyway, I never got a chance to sit down with him and find out why. And that's a regret that I'll always
I
have.
should have brought you to it.
But he was with Roddy a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, Roddy was great, and I didn't know about, all I know is it's something to do with the Portland, Oregon show, maybe, one time.
He was helping promote a
Right.
independent show.
And
Something, he wanted to book me with some girl or something. And anyway, and I said, you nuts, I'm not doing that.
So
After
anyway,
that, it came a verbal war. Maybe that's what it was.
well, God rest Roddy Piper, and God rest all the wrestlers that's passed away. A lot of them out of our generation. But Piper was a good head. He was a good egg. But he was cocky too. So. But in a good way. Drew a lot of money for a small guy. You know, when he first came to New York, they wanted to just him be a manager. He got out of that role, but you know, they gave him the perfect stage, Piper's Pit. And I remember walking up to him, I go, you know what? That's gonna make you have more heat than anybody in this area at Piper's Pit, because you know, he was a great talker and he could slap people around, and the rest is history for him. And they
that dog collar chain match we had at Starcade.
Right.
That time was still a classic match. Have you all seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely classic match.
Yeah, I don't know how you pulled that off, Greg, without killing him, because you're stiff. I'll be honest with you. We're in a tag match one night. I said, Greg, please don't tag me so hard anymore, okay?
I remember that.
Ow! 20,000 people. He slaps my arm, and my arm went around like the Three Stooges. And he hit me so hard it knocked my arm out of, it hyperextended my arm. And I just went, ah, shit. I turned to the crowd, I went, he just broke my fucking arm! 20,000 people, and they knew it hurt because they could hear it. Oh, wow. Oh, Jesus, why did you do that? And I just told him like 5 minutes before that, when we're in the ring, I think he just totally blacked out when he's in the ring. I said, please, don't tag me so hard tonight. Because after that, I would let him swing really hard, and I'd move my hand, and then he would throw his shoulder out of place. Then I had to work with him on some independent wrestling shows. And he told the promoter, I don't want to work with Honky Tonk Man. And I said, why don't you want to work with me? He said, you won't let me chop you. I said, learn how to do something else. Chopping me across my chest. I've got a torn pectoral muscle. I said, what do you have to do to learn how to wrestle? Learn how to work. Because he would go out and chop these kids. I mean, when I say chop them, he didn't even look. I mean, he hit him across the nose, the chin, really bad in the throat. He hits him hard. And when it's not one of like Flair's, woo, and slap, you hear the pop Greg hits these guys and it's like one of those dud things where you know it hurt. It's like, boom. And then you just see the guy's chest go in and you know it hurts. And I'm a song and dance guy, man. I mean, the boogie woogie man. I mean, you put me and Jimmy Baggett together. I mean, it's just like a week. I'm doing, yeah, baby, that's it. Yeah, you get in there. No, you start. No, I'm starting. You start. No. I was teamed with Jimmy Baggett for about a year in Memphis. I learned a lot from him too, and I learned a lot about his, how he did his entertainment stuff and everything. And he got over really, really good in Memphis as a bad guy, and then as a good guy also. He went to Charlotte and got over really, really good as a good guy, and as the boogie woogie man. He wasn't Handsome Jimmy there, and he did all that stuff and everything. And I took some of his things too. We all steal from each other in this business. We don't really create anything on our own. I didn't create the black hair and the sideburns. There's some guy from Tupelo, Mississippi named Elvis Presley did that shit. I mean, I stole it from him. Yeah, I didn't create the guitar. Robert Fuller gave me the guitar. I mean, hitting Bob Armstrong was not the first time someone got hit with a guitar. Jimmy Hart was with Jerry Lawler in Memphis, and the Samoans hit Jerry Lawler with a guitar, and Lawler gigs his body and his arms and everything, and that was like, because Lawler was wanting to be Tom Jones in the jumpsuit and everything. He thought he was, what is it? It's not unusual. Lawler in the black jumpsuit, he had an album, and he goes, oh gosh, yes. Jimmy Hart goes way back with this music stuff. But it's hard to find somebody that actually created something. I stole the name off of a record. I'm a honky tonk man. A Johnny Hart song from the early 60s. So I created this thing for myself, but I stole all these things from other people. Greg the Hammer Valentine, I mean, he stole it all from his father.
Well, he wasn't the Hammer.
He wasn't the Hammer.
No, he's my...
He was stiff too.
Oh, yeah. Stiff and iron and
I never met
slower way.
I never met him. I missed him in everywhere because I stayed over the southern side. I never really went over to Charlotte, to the Carolinas, and he wasn't in Florida when I was there.
He was his whole deal was less is more. The whole thing. I mean, he would just stare at people and stare at the crowd, stare at his opponent, and have people just mesmerized by watching him.
I think one thing we're missing nowadays is that visual effect, that the wrestlers are not portraying any kind of a visual character anymore. They don't really have outfits. They don't have flare robes or jumpsuits or any of that stuff. They don't have good facial expression anymore. They don't look like wild characters. We're missing that kind of a character now. And maybe it's because of video games and everything's gone to video games for all you young fans and older fans that started with this video game stuff. It's not my generation. The video game I learned and couldn't even play it was called Pong. It was black and white and TV. You guys learned how to do all the other stuff. Yes, you did.
Somebody from Hollywood that got all kinds of Emmys and Oscars and makes movies, and they brought them into our wrestling business, and they started writing interviews and handing you a piece of paper to deliver. That was one of the things made the turn for the worse, because you no longer could inject your personality. And
yeah.
That's what made you so special.
Yes.
Made Greg special.
Yes. To be handed a piece of paper and say, read this, and you're not a trained actor or an actress, and they give you a piece of paper and tell you to go out and study this and then say it. Unless you're trained to do that. Actors and actresses are very good at it. But you got to remember, they don't have long dialogue. They can't. The one thing when Vince interviewed me, he said, bring an interview, bring a tape review. No, he didn't care about matches. But I did bring him a short segment of a match I had with a guy where I was hit this guy with a guitar, and he liked that. But what he really liked was I had like a 3-minute interview all alone by myself. And and it wasn't about an opponent, it was just about me and what I was doing in Stampede Wrestling and all these things. And I had the black hair, and I had the jumpsuit on, I had a bunch of fake diamond rings, and I had a big long cigar, and I carried those 3 minutes. And that was what's important to him, because a long interview segment back then was 2 minutes 48 seconds. And if you couldn't carry that length of time, they didn't put mediocre talkers on those segments. So if you couldn't really carry that length of time, you weren't that good for what they wanted. And especially in main event material, you had to be able to carry those interviews. Flair could carry them, Hogan could carry them. Most of the old time, anybody could. JJ could go up there. You tell me, you got 248. I mean, he's going to carry 248. It's no problem.
But Vince had managers for guys that couldn't talk.
Yeah, but to hand me a script and tell me to read this, I couldn't do it. But even in Hollywood, if you notice the way they do it, the guy will have 2 lines. He'll go, "Did you really say that to me?" And then cut away, and the other guy says, "Yes, I said that to you. Why did you say that to me?" And all these are cutaways, and every time they cut away, the guy is getting a chance to look at the line and say it. They tell him, "Okay, say it," and you say it, and then they cut away. "Okay, say this," and they cut away. You say that. So it's not like the old days in Hollywood. There were segments where they had dialogue that went for 2 or 3 or 5 minutes, where they talked and did a scene. Now a scene in Hollywood, it's all cutaway. It's all one-liners. And for Vince to have this, it totally taken away from that character that can portray it. I've always said this about Lex Luger, and I met Lex later on in his career when he had gotten into bad health and everything. Really nice guy to me. I can't say anything. But I always felt that Lex never believed in his character. He had all the tools. He had this body. He had this look. But it just didn't come across to me as he was selling him. He could not sell his product. And our product is us. When you look in the camera, the one thing you're selling is you. You have to sell yourself and your match, that this is in your opponent, to the millions of fans out there. And I think maybe, JJ, because of guaranteed contracts and not having to worry about the size of the gate receipts coming in, and it's how you get paid, you lose the desire to learn how to project the character. And I think that's totally missing really bad. And they're grasping to try to find that person. Well, you can't put them in training school. You cannot make stars in a school. You can't make them. You can't create them. It has to come from within that person. That person has to project that persona. And if it's not a persona they can project, then I don't know. I don't really know. It's like I said, it's all video game. The matches are all video game matches. It's just like the video game. I think the young fans want to see the act. They want to see a guy have 9 lives. They want to see him get hit with a chair 50 times and flip over the top rope and land on the concrete, and jump back up and fly over the top rope and do it all again. Bing, 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 bing. But that's what people like now. The business has to evolve, and sometimes it goes nuts.
Question to you.
So I watched an interview on YouTube with Lanny Poffo, and he was mentioning that back in the day in the 80s that Bam Bam Bigelow wasn't the most popular guy, I guess, in the locker room. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
I was never around him that much. Bam Bam was always nice to me. I mean, he rubbed some people the wrong way when he first came in. He was a typical New Jersey guy, and I say typical because sometimes, the guys from Brooklyn rub you the wrong way, or you come in there, he had an attitude, and Andre, depending on how much wine Andre was drinking that night, was whatever mood Andre was going to be in. And if you rubbed him the wrong way, then the word would spread that Andre didn't like you, and that was it. I mean, did he do anything? I don't know a lot. I wasn't on a lot of towns with him. I can't say, Greg, you might not have been around Bam Bam. He was great talent, though, very talented. And,
I thought he was a nice guy, but who knows?
You don't know. You hear these stories. You guys hear these stories all the time. I mean, obviously, I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Maybe it was a tattoo on his head.
Maybe it was the tattoos. I told you they tried to make it a tattoo. Ben said he owned the tattoo. Or he owned his head. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
Honky, Greg, I got a question.
as someone who was humbled enough on a small scale to be inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame tonight, both of you gentlemen are in the WWE Hall of Fame. Can you describe to us what that feels like in your experience, especially you, Honky, who was just inducted not too long ago?
Well, I know why you're saying that about me. You never thought it was going to happen either.
No, I was a big fan, Honky, but to listen to the two of you and to have J.J. Dillon, another Hall of Famer here in the crowd, Bill Apter, this is priceless for a guy like me who's been at the bottom of this business for 35 years. So I would appreciate if you guys would relay that to us.
I enjoyed getting that call, and you know, for some unknown reason, maybe something in about 9-10 months ago, a year ago, I just had a feeling that this might be the year. It just might be, because you know, guys are passing away before they can put them in, and you got the Death Hall of Fame, and I didn't, you know, it's going to be either now or it might be never. And I just had that feeling. I started making changes in my life because of just these things that were going on with me.
You're psychic.
And I cleaned up a lot of things, and I tried to, and I still am, rehabilitating myself personally and professionally, because I made a lot of mistakes in both areas, especially on the professional level with you fans that love these shoot interviews and things that I did. And I was like one of the first guys that went out there and like hammered everyone. And sure, I took a payday for it. I was getting paid, and I needed the money. And it's like Willie Nelson, and I tell people this. People say, Willie, you sold that song, and that girl, Patsy Cline, it was a big hit. You sold that song for $150. And it's made hundreds of millions of dollars. He wrote the song. Crazy. Crazy. It's made hundreds of millions of dollars. They said, why in the world would you have sold that song for $150? He said, I was broke and I needed $150. That's why he sold it. Yeah. And people, I mean, I told JJ earlier, people do desperate things. I felt like I was on sinking in a sinkhole out of WWE, which is a very terrible thing to happen, whether you do it to yourself or they do it to you. There is a letdown in your life because it is the biggest company in the world. You know it's the greatest company in the world. With all the problems, it's still the best place to work to make money with a good paycheck. He does pay very well. But there's everything that comes with it. But there's a little depression that comes along because now you're thrust back out here in the real world of pro wrestling at the grassroots level of independent wrestling in small towns in Kansas and Oklahoma and all these places, and you see it from a whole different perspective. You see it from like when you started, and it, to me it was like starting all over again. And now with this Hall of Fame, it's capped it all off. I told JJ earlier, I feel like this chapter, this book now of this is done, it's over. I've rehabilitated myself enough. I kissed their ass really, really good in that speech that night.
Yeah, that
yes,
was good.
I did. Thank you, WWE.
WWE
I never said, thank you for what you did for me. It was really for what they did. The character was me. But they gave this character this life. The character would not have ever, I mean, to be in Calgary and to be in Pensacola and to take it to somewhere else and somewhere else, it would have just kept going until it died on the vine. That program, that TV that they have, and the way that they can promote you around the world is invaluable. I have lived off of this character for over 20 years on the independent circuit. That's a long time to be off TV. I've only been on television like 4 times in the last 20 years. That is a long time to not have any TV, I can tell you. But to still make a good living in the wrestling business, you can do it without that company, but it's a struggle. It's every day is an uphill climb. And I didn't know how good I had it, but I was a hothead and goofy and cursing Vince, and he's cursing me, and I wish we had not cursed each other so much sometimes. But that's just how it was. I dealt with him like he was an old-time promoter. I talked to him like I talked to Nick Goodless. I talked to him like I would talk to Eddie Graham. Or, you know, I didn't really talk to Ole Anderson that way. I was scared Ole would beat the shit out of me. But I talked to Bob, you know, I let Bob do. Bob always did the talking. Like, Ole let Bob go do the dirty work. And but anyway, I was on the phone with Vince one night, and I was upstairs, and my wife said, "Who are you on the phone cursing at?" I said, "That fucking Vince McMahon." We had like a 10-minute conversation, and he was saying all these things that he was, "Don't you play hardball with me. I'll fucking do it." I said, "I don't want to play with you, you fucking asshole." "You got my belt." I said, "You're not getting it back. It'll be over the mantle in my fireplace. If you want it, you come to Memphis and beat me for it." 10 years later, I heard him doing a Stone Cold interview for Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he used those exact words. "Austin, I have your belt. It's over the mantle in my fireplace. If you think you can beat me, you come and get it." I said, "I'll be damned." That's what I told him on the phone, not a cuss fight. But I was, you know, doing things I shouldn't be doing. You don't talk to the guy that signed your paycheck that way. If you're going to talk that way, just leave. Just say, "Look, I'm done. Let's do business some other time." But, you know, you do stupid stuff. Greg never did that. He was the quiet, subtle one. Strongbow would push my buttons. I mean, if anybody I wanted to kick the shit out of, it was Jay Strongbow.
Yeah, but I was...
Savage wanted to kill him, too. Savage said, "Ooh, just how many careers have you ruined?" I was there when Savage was right in his face. I mean, Jay, I would have to hide my children. My wife and my son would come. We'd be on the road 40, 50, 60 days. Finally, you're somewhere where you fly your wife and your kid in, and you got a car for 3 days. You got to go hide them in the arena. So Strongbow hears that you got your wife and kids, and you've been on the first or second or third match every night for 60 days. You're on the third match, and he sees your wife and kid, and he comes in and switches you from third to last. So now the restaurants are closed. You're in traffic leaving the building in Philadelphia or somewhere. Traffic's backed up because there's 20,000 people, and you don't get back to the room till 3 in the morning, and you got a 6 o'clock and leave and be at TV 200 miles away. He did things like that, and I didn't understand why. I never found out. He was in Puerto Rico, came there when I was working in Puerto Rico. I was a Caribbean champion. Dutch Mantel and myself were the tag team champions there. And he came there because they sent him to rehabilitate his knee. He was one of the first guys that had his knee scoped in our business. Strongbow was. And they did the scope on it, and when he could come, they sent him down to Puerto Rico to rehab it where nobody in New York would know what he was doing. And he worked with me. They put me with him for about 5 weeks. I was married to him 4 or 5 nights a week for about 5 weeks. And he told me right off the get-go, "I don't take bumps, I don't give bumps, don't pull my hair, don't do this." I said, "Don't worry, I'll do whatever you want, Chief." So I went out and I'd do the stuff, and he'd do the Jimmy Valiant, and he'd shake and get up and shake the ropes. I gave the shaking the ropes stuff from Strongbow. It's one thing Strongbow can't say he gave the Warrior. I gave this to Warrior. I made Warrior do Strongbow's bullshit. Shake the leg, shake the head, blah, 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 blah. I stole it from Strongbow and gave it to Warrior. But I never understood why. And I get to New York, it's like 10 years later, and this guy acts like he don't even know me. And he treats me bad. He loved Jimmy Hart. He would always say stuff to Jimmy Hart. He loved Greg. And he would always tell Greg bad things about me.
You let me break his leg.
Funny you mentioned that. That was the first time I ever really hated. I hated you when I was a kid because you did that. Because Chief was my guy at one point.
He had good psychology, but all he did was...
Yeah.
He was easy to work with. It was easy. I mean, it was a great, and you could have a good match with him because he would put your stuff over, and you could get, and people loved him, and everything was fabulous. And in fact, I was working in Mulligan's territory in Knoxville. They brought him over to Knoxville, and that's where we kind of like rehashed things again because that was after I'd been in Puerto Rico, and I was over there, and he worked an angle with Kevin Sullivan, and all this. We're selling towards headdress up, and Yeah, so we had a history, but I never understood why, and I always wanted to know, even now. And Eric Bitchoff, he won't even speak to me or anything. He says bad things about me, but I don't know why the guy doesn't like me. And the first day I met him, he said, the only reason I hired you, I said, it's Eric, and the Honky told me, it's nice to meet you. I look forward to working with you guys. I was in Orlando. And he said, I never liked your character. I don't like it. And the only reason I'm hiring you is because it's the only way to shut Jimmy Hart up. He won't leave me alone. And hopefully now he won't bother me. And before he walked away, I said, well, Eric, I'm sorry to hear that, but I hope I can change your mind. That was the only conversation I ever had with a man, period. Period. Not another word have we ever spoken to each other since then. And why he doesn't like me, I don't know. He puts in his book that the one guy he loved firing was me. I felt honored because he fired a lot of people, but I got mentioned in his book, and I wish I knew why he liked to fire me. But so what? I mean, what makes him tick? I don't know. I always feel like if we're going to do this, JJ's old school, and Bill, and hopefully Andrew will be an old school guy. Greg's an old school guy. If you got a problem with somebody, you don't go talk behind their back or anything. You just, hey buddy, let's talk a minute. And you don't do it in front of all the locker room or none of that. You go and you find out what's going on. Most of the time, back years ago, it was always over a girlfriend or money or you owed a guy some trans money or something happened in another territory somewhere and you didn't get to see the guy and now you're going to settle it. But it was never like hateful, mean things. And nowadays it's that way. And that's one of the things I regret about those shoot interviews because I kind of prodded that generation of those shoot things all the way down then. Everyone told me, oh man, you got heat. Then every guy that got fired or quit from the company, every company they went and did them. It's like, okay, all right, I guess I'm bad for simply doing it, but you guys are okay. It's like Trump. I mean, the guy can't get a break no matter what. Now they're saying his wife wore sunglasses the other day at the memorial service.
Yeah.
What? This is all we have to talk about? He's a Hall of Fame guy. Trump is. We got to stick together, man. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.